From the Green Room Studios at Bates Nursery in Nashville, Tennessee, it's the At Home Show podcast edition. Let's get into this week's show.
Hey, everyone. It's Caroline.
And hey, everyone. Austin here.
And Tyler, bringing up the rear.
Bringing up the rear, like always. The best spot to be in.
You know what else is bringing up the rear?
What?
Summer.
Summer is bringing up the rear.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing up the rear and winding down.
It is. It's about over. Fall is beginning to be among us.
Mm-hmm. There's a fall breeze in the air.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit cooler than what we've had for sure.
Thank God.
Yeah, it was a rough summer. But night temps are starting to drop. We're getting fall veggies in. We're getting mums in. Tyler's drinking pumpkin spice lattes every morning.
That's right. That's actually the official signal of the start of the season.
When Tyler drinks his first pumpkin spice latte.
Yeah, and I actually started late this year. I held out for a long time. And as you know, pumpkin spice was with us through the heat wave.
What?
Yes.
Ugh.
I mean, they rolled it out early this year.
No pumpkin spice during heat waves. I'm sorry, but that's not even right.
Well, see, I wasn't in the mood either. But then as soon as it was over and we had that nice little cold lull, oh my goodness. Hello, Apple Bramble Crisp. Hello, PSL.
You know all of them. Yep. And we will be getting pumpkins here at the nursery soon, too.
Mm-hmm. Won't be long.
That's thrilling. Thrilling.
Get your pumpkin stacks on your front porch.
We've already gotten mums and violas and pansies.
Mm-hmm. Fall vegetables. We've already said that. We talked a little bit
And
about that on the
ornamentals.
show.
Hey, yeah. What else did we talk about on the show?
Oh, gosh. We talked about herbicides a lot.
Herbicides. A
And how
lot
to
about
use it.
weeding.
How to weed properly, which is just with your hands
And
for the
your
most
heart.
part.
Some
your heart.
overwintering Heuchera in a pot.
We did that.
Yeah.
Won't be long. We'll be getting our really ornamental stuff in for the fall, like our cool conifers and Japanese maples and deciduous hardwood trees.
They're so close.
That's happening.
It's coming. I know everyone's excited, and we are excited for you to hear us talk about all of these things and more.
Please enjoy.
All righty, folks, we're here for you. David is on assignment, so we're going to endeavor on and move forward.
We will persevere.
Yes, we will. We will get through it. And we usually do so by taking some questions, and I understand there are quite a few, Caroline.
Yes, there are.
Good.
Why am I struggling to keep new bushes alive? We planted azalea this spring along with 2 varieties of petunias, lantana and vinca. The petunias were great in the beginning in spring and summer, and then other flowers thrived. The bushes slowly but surely browned and then fell. Not enough water, wrong plant, too much sun, all the above. Thank you.
Well, what I would say is, my thoughts real quick before you jump in, Austin. I'm going to guess that the petunias went down because of so much rain we had this summer.
And because you didn't plant marigolds.
Oh, yeah.
And the azalea because it's an azalea.
Yeah.
You feel the same way about azalea that I do.
Well, I mean, I love them, but they just don't grow here very well. You have to do so much work for them to do well here.
You're right. Like, established azaleas are great, but to get them established is a little bit tricky. Like, they're slow to go. Okay. They got really, really fibrous roots. They don't take very quickly. They're very slow to kind of latch in. Once they latch in, they're cool and they can live. My father-in-law's had azaleas on his house for like the past 22 years or something like that, and they're fine. But it does take them, like a couple seasons to kind of get latched in. So yeah, all of the above kind of is the answer to that. You have to kind of watch them that first season and kind of baby them a little bit. They're a little needy when they're young. So
Aren't we all, though?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is
aren't
true.
we all? So you think it was just too much water?
Well, for the petunias, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, just because of how much rain we had this summer.
yeah. Mixed in with really, really hot temperatures there for a minute. You know where petunias grow best? Alaska.
I was about to say, at
Really?
your house?
No, in Alaska.
Really?
Petunias are money. Absolute money in Alaska. Like, they're fine with cooler temps. Like, they look actually best usually in the early spring when it's cooler at night, and then also cooler in the fall at night. Petunias look really, really good, but they can struggle during the dead of the heat summer here.
Is that true for waves too?
The wave petunia, I mean, my waves in the ground are great.
You lit up right there.
Well, they're so pretty. I mean, I didn't even have to cut them back this year yet. I kind of want to, but I'm not doing it because they're loaded with blooms, like loaded. It's that old misty lilac. I've told y'all. It's the best wave on the market.
Misty, we've got a Heuchera question over here. What is the best way to overwinter Heuchera here in Middle Tennessee? I have some in rather large pots. Do I need to bring them in the garage? Concerned about them freezing since they're in a pot. Well, I will say I put Heuchera in a pot every fall, leave it out through the winter, and it stays up. And Heuchera was one of the only things when we had the deep freeze in December in my garden beds that one variety in particular looked fantastic under the snow and as the snow melted. So I've never really had an issue with mine dying back. It might die back a little bit, but in the spring, mine always flushes. I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts on it, but I wouldn't suggest bringing it into the garage. I've never had to do that.
No, don't do that. Leave it out. You keep yours under your porch, right?
Yeah. The one in the pot is a little bit under the porch.
Yeah, so I mean, Heuchera's a common, shade-loving plant that has got excellent foliage color. And yeah, it'll keep its leaves up through the wintertime if it is protected. If it's out, like I have some out in the bed, out in the yard, and it's not protected whatsoever. And it lost pretty much all of its leaves over the wintertime. But I mean, that deep freeze, like Caroline said, didn't affect my Heuchera at all. It came back just fine. Like very, very hardy plant, especially even in pots.
My watermelon carnival Heuchera in the ground, not protected whatsoever, didn't lose a leaf in the December freeze.
See? Great plant for the fall.
It
Fall
was
mixed
beautiful.
containers.
That's what I do with mine. And then I plant them in the ground in the spring, and then I get new ones the next fall. I got a plan.
You do.
Yeah, I do. It's the only planting I do with my garden beds. Adam, you look like you have something to say over
Well, I
there.
was just going to say we got a lot of Heucheras here.
Oh my gosh, we do.
Lots of
Like
good,
2 full tables of them.
lots of good colors.
Good
over
Lord.
there.
Plenty of purples, plenty of reds, plenty of chartreuse,
Orange.
and even some orange.
Okay, let's talk about stuff that dies.
Oh,
Oh
everything
no,
dies.
everything does die.
That's
You
a
are
fact.
right about that. Facts of life with Austin. I have a bare eroding area above my drive due to the freeze that killed the ivy and tree work crews. I need a ground cover that will hold the dirt from flowing over the drive. It is primarily a shaded area, 30 feet by 70 feet. I wish there could be trees or shrubs that would work and hide my neighbors, but with so little space and sun, probably not. Thanks for any help.
30 feet by 70 feet is not enough space.
That seems like quite a bit of space.
That's quite a bit of space. They need a ground cover, but also they said they want to hide their neighbors.
I think that is their ultimate wish, is that they could hide their neighbors, but they're thinking that it's not enough space to plant trees, or it sounds like anything privacy type thing. And it's shaded. So
Well, ground cover, Vinca minor would be the best one for that, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, you can't kill that plant. And it lives in shade, lives in sun, lives in wet, lives in hot.
There's
It's
some
evergreen.
understory
Lives in
hollies
anything.
too, aren't there, guys?
Do what?
Kind of. I mean, you might get. It depends on how much room you have. I mean, I have seen Nellie Stevens grow some pretty deep shade, but
Yeah, they can.
If you wanted something bigger that would hide your neighbors, hemlock would be good in the shade
that's
for
a
an
good
evergreen.
point. Oh, that would be
That's a
good.
good point. And hemlock
So-
is very, we think of hemlocks as big trees, and they typically are where they're grown, but they hedge very, very well. Out in Europe, they actually do this a lot, whereas they'll use hemlock as like a hedge type plant. So and hemlock is a needled evergreen that can handle shade, which is pretty rare. So yeah, you could get that up to like say a 10 to 12 foot tall, and then start topping it, and then literally make a hedge out of it.
and hide those neighbors.
That's it. Yep. That could be the solution.
Well, large outdoor pots and filtered light, best fall flowers and plants.
I was going to say really the only fall flower is pansy or
Pansy.
The
viola.
only one. Yeah.
And the asters you got there right there on the table too. They'll last into the fall some
For a little while. Throwing the Heuchera in there for your
Heuchera,
Yep.
for your leaf color.
Listen, a Heuchera pansy mix container with some little trailer would
Well,
be super
you know what
pretty.
else you need to put in that pot
What?
is some
mix.
carrots.
Oh, yeah.
Carrots.
That's great for the center of a pot. It looks like grass. Not technically a grass, but we've got cool colors, like really chartreuse colors. There's one that's
Feather Falls.
Feather Falls, that's the one.
Yep.
And it's green with a white band down the middle. It is attractive. It gets big. Like bigger than you think. But in the middle of a pot with pansies around it,
Let's stay on the fall flower topic.
Okay.
Is it a good idea to trim back fall blooming mums at some point?
I like this question. If you're perennializing your mums, say you have mums that come back year to year. Say your mum goes through the winter, it comes back up into the spring, and it perennializes. It lives through the winter, which is good. Not all mums will do this. If they do, whenever they come up in the spring, if you give them a top, I want you to top out every single stem along the top of that mum. If you do that, then it's going to send out new leaves and new stems, and then it's going to bloom really, really tight atop of the foliage. That's how growers get the mums to be as tight as what you see whenever you buy them here. It's called pinching. And we pinch off those topmost leaves in the spring to get them to be tighter, and they bloom a lot tighter. If you don't top your mums in the early spring, you get a sporadic bloom, and they're not near as tight and as full. So yes, I do recommend doing this for mums early in the spring.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So on the mum topic, we did have a couple questions asking if we do have mums in at the nursery. Yes, we do currently have mums. We will be getting lots more in over the next few weeks. But as I know from yesterday, I went down there yesterday afternoon, we still had some. So yeah.
Some mum.
Some mums.
We'll have a lot more. And pumpkins will be in before you know it.
Oh my gosh, who's excited about
We'll be
pumpkins?
stacking them pumpkins. I love pumpkin day here.
It's a fun day. And we
It's a
cleared
fun
our
day.
space for it. It is, yeah. Tyler and I actually got to go to the pumpkin patch where we get them last year.
Yeah, y'all
So-
made a video about
That's
that.
right.
We did make a really fun video. I got on a tractor.
She got really sleepy. That was
It's all
I
pumpkin
did. I got
spice.
really sleepy
Oh,
in
yeah.
the pumpkin patch.
You fell asleep in the pumpkin
I,
patch.
I just did so much that I had to lay down and take a little nap. Fun fact, you can use pumpkins as a pillow. All right. Speaking of soft things, let's talk about lamb's ear. That was a great transition. Why do my lamb's ear look so gross, wilted, and brown? All
it's
right,
lamb's
let's
ear.
talk about that. I love this plant, but when we get a lot of water, it'll do that, especially if you haven't thinned it out. So if you've had it for a while and it's pretty close together, you'll need to thin it out a little bit. But if it's a new planting, it has been pretty wet. So mine is doing the same thing. And all I do, you can put a glove on or just use your bare hand. I'll reach in there and pull out all of those kind of gross brown leaves there. That does happen with mine every year, but it's totally worth growing. I know some people in this room don't love that plant.
I was about to say, it happens to you every year and it's still worth growing. Like, ugh.
It's
no.
so cute.
Lamb's ear is not coming in my yard. It gets
Nope.
so yuck.
I'm going to
by
sneak into
this
your
time
yard in the
year.
middle of the night and plant it.
No.
All right, what plants work well in or along a stream that is sometimes dry?
Plants?
Grasses.
Grasses?
Switchgrass is great.
Switchgrass, yeah, is
That's
awesome.
usually our go-to about
Miscanthus.
Bridget's favorite, Amsonia, does well in that environment, especially if you like fall color, because it's some of the best.
Cottonwoods.
Throw a cottonwood tree in there. Why not?
Yeah.
Josh?
Do you have to plant cottonwoods? They just appear, don't they?
They
Right.
appear.
Okay.
They appear
I
in
mean-
the crevices of concrete. They don't care where they appear.
Yeah.
They
Dude,
just
you
show
found
up.
one growing in the roof of the houseplant greenhouse.
We did a little Instagram story yesterday, and it was great. We pulled a cottonwood out of the gutter of the greenhouse. I threw it down to Caroline, and it landed in a pot.
And I
Just
caught
perfect.
it like a sports champ.
You sports champ.
That's what they call them when they
Yeah.
catch good. Look at that sports champ.
Oh gosh.
What did you plant that cottonwood in? Did you plant it in some earth mix, or did you?
It'll thrive.
We dropped it down in some indoor because it was a little sapling.
Oh, there you
Okay.
go.
Earth mix
yeah.
indoor.
The At Home Show is brought to you by EarthMix Garden Products, creating high-quality, sustainable soil blends and amendments in the Southeast. It's hot and your plants need some mulch. Why not use Fines by EarthMix? Their finely shredded pine bark mulch offers unmatched moisture control and fantastic texture in your garden. Not only a great mulch, but an excellent soil conditioner to assist with drainage in beds and containers. Visit earthmix.net for more information and a list of retailers near you. Remember, success begins at the ground level when you choose EarthMix Garden Products.
All right, so we're going to talk about some soil mulch questions that we got in this week. Got a bunch of bugs in my raised bed soil. How should I prepare for fall and winter to help with next year? What do we do about all these bugs? Now, they didn't tell me what kind of bugs.
That's the thing. We kind of need to know. Some bugs in the soil is okay.
Yep.
Ants
You know,
are
not
okay.
doing
Well, let's tell them what
anything.
bugs are good.
Earthworms.
Earthworms, that's a good one to have.
Certainly.
Ladybugs.
Ladybugs
Ladybugs.
are great.
Are they in the soil much, though?
I mean,
They can crawl
Well,
around.
they
travel.
reproduce in the soil. Their grubs are
Yeah,
in
but
the
I
soil.
usually
aren't-
see them, but the bug itself. the
No,
bug
it's
bug.
not gonna be in the
they,
soil.
they traverse the earth to get to the next
Yes.
plant.
What
I
about
guess.
pill bugs, roly polies? They're everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
those are not
so cute.
really all that bad of a nuisance until they get like really, really high numbers. I talked to a customer not too long ago. Tyler, was it? No, it was Ben. It was me and Ben were trying to help this customer, and she had pill bugs, roly-polies is a common name, for these. And like I said, they're really not all that bad of an insect until they get bad. And this woman had, hundreds upon hundreds, like right around the root zone of a new plant that she had. Ooh. And they started to feed on her on the roots, which is what they will do to an extent. And like I said, when numbers aren't all that high, they're not all that bad of a problem. But with a new plant, a young plant that doesn't have a ton of roots and a whole bunch of roly-polies, that can be an issue. So literally just scooping them out with a shovel, is kind of the best bet on that. Don't waste your money on sprays and stuff. Just, kind of physically remove ones that are like that. But
yeah, and that's the case for most insects. If you catch it early, you can do that. You can just pick stuff up, or you can use insecticidal soap. Particularly if you've got a garden where you have things you want to harvest and eat later.
A little diatomaceous earth.
You can do that. Yep.
That's a good little dust.
Let's talk about bad bugs, like beetles and worms and things like that.
Hey, the beetles are okay.
I'm not saying
Beetles
all
are
of
not
them,
okay.
but like if you have grubs in your soil or something like that, and you don't want them, you just till that top layer of the soil to unearth them.
Or you can do milky spore.
Yeah, milky spore is good. Tyler's typically talking about like Japanese beetle larvae, which is white grubs that'll be in your soil.
Yes.
Yeah, so you can kind of till the earth to get those up and literally just take them out when you see them.
The birdies might like them.
The birds might like them.
Well, who else likes them? Moles.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And that's, whenever your soil has a lot of grubs in it, the moles will
come.
So we've talked about soil. Let's talk about mulch. So we have a viewer that is new to Tennessee, and they're wondering when the best time to mulch is.
Well,
they are tired
30.
of weeding. 3:30.
Hey,
Yeah.
3:30.
AM or PM.
First off, welcome to Tennessee, the greatest state in the nation.
Yes.
But if you're tired of weeding, you better head on out. Because there's
Don't
plenty.
send them out.
No, I ain't sending them out yet. But look,
It's coming though.
You're gonna have to weed here. Look, I weed all the time. I weed constantly. I love my beds being clean, and weeding comes with it. And there's not a magic answer. You can use weed fabric to help. Weed fabric first, and then a layer of mulch. It will help for like that first season.
Yeah, but then the
then it
seeds
grows
land on
on
top of the mulch and grow on top of the mulch.
And then you pull it all up when you pull those
You're
weeds
right.
up because you let them go for too long.
You're
like
right.
I
I
do.
actually don't like weed fabric. Oh, man, I had to weed last week. I let my stuff go. As gardeners, we commonly joke around here, like, once August hits, we're, like, done.
Yep.
We're like, you know what?
Yeah, my
It's
beds are
hot.
wild.
I'm tired of this. My beds got really weedy. Stupid weedy. Like, way more than I ever have let them. So I went nuts the other day. Just spent, like, an hour and a half weeding. I had crabgrass, like, 3 foot tall.
Oof.
I'm pulling out grass with the earth, just massive roots.
King crabgrass.
Oh,
3
it was the
foot
king
tall.
crab.
Blast
the
craters.
grass. It was
Wow.
awful. But
Are you
after you
okay?
clean all that, I'm great. I'm great. My fingers were hurting after I did it. But it looked so good when I was done.
That looked amazing.
But look, y'all, get ready to weed. Middle
Yeah.
Tennessee's
Oh,
weedy.
you do have to weed.
Let's talk about routinely mulching, because the mulch was the essence of the question.
Well,
right?
the problem is that, and I get what you're saying, because it is possible that you could keep the weeds to a minimum by a mulch schedule, but the problem is you run into you put too much mulch down.
Yep.
Exactly.
Because you don't want to. There is air exchange between the soil and the air. So you don't want to block that off. So 2 to 3 inches of mulch is maximum. That really all you need.
Yes.
Other than that, you're just wasting money and you're actually hurting yourself.
And
Exactly.
around ornamentals, Treflan is not bad. Don't
Right,
overdo
right,
it, but
right.
don't do it anywhere
Yeah, make
near a food
sure if
crop.
you use Treflan or some other kind of pre-emergent, you follow what it says on the bag to
Yeah,
They
always.
put it
actually
out.
give you a picture, folks, where it
Yes.
shows the recommended spread rate.
Yep.
My best friend likes to see it as a yellow mono haze. It's just across the top.
Well, tell people what Treflan is.
That would be, Preen? Yeah.
Similar to Preen.
Yeah, that's just,
And the thing is, that is also, it's kind of like, I know we've talked a lot about bagworms on this show too. It's kind of like spraying for bagworms. If you put Treflan down at the wrong time, you've wasted your money,
Yep.
because
Exactly.
it needs to be put down before the seeds germinate.
Yes.
If they have germinated even a little bit and you still don't even see them, it's too late.
It's a pre-emergent.
It's a pre-emergent, yes.
Yes.
Whereas Roundup is a post-emergent. So after it's emerged, You spray that herbicide on the weed and it kills it. Treflan is you have to get it down before it ever germinates, and that will keep it from germinating.
And don't spread it on top of your monkey grass, and because it'll burn. It'll burn.
Yes,
That'll be
yes,
so
it will.
Too.
Got to be careful with that stuff.
And just follow the instructions. Reading the label does not, it's something that we admire people that do that.
Yes.
So.
Yes, you do.
Those were fun.
We did get a question about weeding, chemicals
Okay.
versus no chemicals, basically versus your hands. And I know we've just talked about it a little bit, but I want to make sure we answer that. I don't use chemicals. I use my hands. And when I am staying on top of my weeding, I actually do it every day. It's like a garden walk thing. I'll weed. I know it's tiresome, but if you get in the zone, just like running, it'll let your brain release. You could just go into autopilot and just start pulling those weeds.
I
So-
hate running just about as much as I hate weeding,
Well, that's all right.
but we still do it. I don't run.
I was about to say,
I
do
don't
you run?
Negative. I ain't
Negative.
run
I
since
do
high
not
school,
run.
but I do weed a lot. But look, if you are going to use herbicides, it's totally okay to use herbicides, y'all. But we have to use them at a very low pressure in our sprayers. We don't want to pump that thing 20 times and just be blasting herbicide all over everything.
No.
You want to be right on top of the weed, very low pressure, more or less just drip that herbicide on top of the weed you want to kill.
Yeah, and you want to wait for fairly calm conditions.
Exactly.
Too.
Yep.
So-
Yeah, we don't want to do this right before a rain event or
Because
whatever.
you're wasting your money
Exactly.
if you do.
Here's my question. I have recently been digging my yard for some gutters and a French drain. I am careful to take up the sod and keep the soil separate from the clay. Once I'm done digging, I pack everything down in the same order and put the sod back over it all. It seems like the sod always dies. Any tips?
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow, you'd have to get a sod cutter first
Yes.
of all to do it really well. I mean, there are certain shovels you can do it if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You can get a good
It
piece of
dies at
sod.
my house too. So when I try that,
Yeah, I mean, and you'd have to. I mean, for me, if it was Bermuda or Zoysia, it might work. If it's fescue, especially this time of year, it's not going to work.
because it's going to be dead by the time you get back to it. To put
Correct.
it back into where you
Correct.
wanted it to go.
Yeah.
So y'all think they're talking about like cutting the sod, like getting the grass out and then
Yes.
trying to
Yes.
put it back?
Yes.
I'll tell you
Yes.
my tip on this. I do this with all of my trees. Okay, so I just live out, in just the yard. I just throw trees in the yard in the
live
grass.
out in the yard.
So what I do, so I cut my sod out first. I cut a hole, and I get the sod physically. I grab the grass and
Yes.
move it to the side. Then I dig my hole, plant my tree. Well, what I like to do is put that grass back on top of what I just planted. Okay. I do this because I think that when rain falls, it lands on top of the grass and it goes straight down. It doesn't land on dirt and then run away. So I'll tell you what I do with the sod. So I will put it, take that sod ring or whatever, and I'll put it right back on top of what I just planted, right around that tree. What I do, this is no joke, I beat it. I mean, as hard as I can. I just beat the sod
Well,
down onto
yeah.
the grass,
Well, what's your-
and then I
rolling.
water it.
Right. What you're doing is you're mimicking a sod roller.
Yes.
So because you want the roots really need to make contact with the soil
Very tightly. I'm
Yeah.
telling you.
You don't
have
want
to do
any
it.
air under there.
No, I'll
Yeah.
stomp on it. I mean, I'll jump on it after I'm done. I mean, I got to make great contact with soil to the dirt, and then you have to water. Really water that, and then for the most part, all that grass takes right around the trees that I've planted, and it's great.
Yeah, but Austin, the key to what you just said is that you're going to drown that new tree as soon as you put it in
Yeah.
the ground.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're going to water it some more, and then you're going to water it some more.
Yep.
And
With a new tree, you
yes,
have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And therefore the grass gets water too.
Exactly,
Yes.
and it lives. And then I just have to weed eat around the trees, which
Which you
that's
love.
part of it.
Let's go on to
Okay.
our tree time for,
Hope that helped, Josh.
for the broadcast.
Tree time.
Austin,
What?
someone is specifically talking to you
Oh,
here.
hello.
I need your tree wisdom.
Okay.
My mom
Okay.
ordered 3 crabapple trees, and I offered to plant them and help take care of them. I have no idea what I've gotten myself into.
Okay.
Give them your wisdom.
You've done great, first off. Thank you.
By asking Austin.
Well, that, yes.
Exactly.
And also getting crab apples. Hey, call me a redneck, but I love a good crab apple. Okay?
They're cute.
They're fantastic. This year, specifically, the whole Malus genus
Yep.
Did
has
great.
been incredible.
Yeah.
My
Oh, yeah.
father-in-law,
Awesome.
shout out JoJo, he grows beautiful apples this year. Fantastic.
My apple trees died this year.
Oh, great. Yours
Sounds
were
like-
big and old though.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, I don't know how old they were.
They had
They had
lichen all
apples, and then
over
they
them.
just started dying.
Ugh.
They've shut down completely. I think they're gone.
But anyway, we've got some crab apples on the tree lot this year. They got crab apples the size of that.
Yes, they're
And,
monsters this year.
yeah,
I've
and
never
they've been
seen
great.
anything like it.
It's been a great year for apple trees. And honestly, crab apples are not that hard to grow. They're very fast to grow, actually. They really shoot up quickly. So you got 3 crab apples. Great. I don't know if you have them in pots or have them in the ground or how big they are, but crab apples are easy. I mean, you don't have to do anything all that much besides keep them moist. It's a tree. You got to keep them moist in a pot.
Pretty in the spring.
Pretty, I mean, beautiful in the spring. It just blooms like you wouldn't believe in the spring. They're fantastic. They got pretty good fall color. There's some varieties now that have really good color throughout the whole season, like kind of like burgundy leaves.
Burgundy leaves,
Yeah, they're great.
Additional support for the At Home Show is brought to you by Bates Nursery, a third-generation garden center located in Nashville, Tennessee, offering the widest selection of plants and gardening supplies from large trees to houseplants, from seeds to soil. Their knowledgeable staff will assist you with all your gardening needs. Open year-round, minutes from the heart of Nashville and beautiful Whites Creek, Tennessee. Browse their selection online anytime at batesnursery.com. Bates Nursery and Garden Center, beautifying Nashville since 1932.
Well, here's what we're looking at right now. What's in bloom? With Austin.
Oh, boy.
Oh boy.
Here it
Here we
is.
go. Okay. Still a lot of the same. I'm sorry, but still the crepe myrtle. Been a great crepe myrtle season. Rose of Sharon still going. Hibiscus, perennial hibiscus has kind of stopped a little bit, but then like this morning I saw mine had a new bloom. They do that sometimes. Kind of cool. Hydrangeas barely still hanging on. All the panicles like Caroline was talking about with the berry white over there. They're starting to go to that pinkish color, but still in bloom. Goldenrod is just starting. Ironweed is going in that purple.
Yep.
Looking good. My verbena is tall and going. That's the perennial verbena. Verbena bonariensis is the name of that.
Sure it is.
Good plant. Really good plant.
I've
Gets
got it. It
very
looks
tall.
great.
Uh-huh. You know what else you've noticed? And what I've noticed is morning glory.
Yep.
Go out. Go outside right now. Go find that morning glory weed. I bet it's got a bloom on it. You know what else has a bloom on it? Is sweet potato vine. I've neglected.
Hey, well, isn't that
So
an
gorgeous.
ipomia?
It
though?
is.
Yeah.
It is. And that's where I was getting. Yes, the morning glory and sweet potato vine are very, very closely related. And I have neglected my sweet potato vine. Surprise, surprise. I'm getting ready to switch it out for my fall pansies. Okay, so I haven't watered that sweet potato vine in like a month. Not even joking, like a month. But it's still alive. But what it's doing right now, it's very stressed. It's throwing blooms. I mean, the blooms are beautiful on a sweet potato vine. But they do the same thing. They kind of bloom in the morning and then kind of close up by the afternoon. Cool stuff. All of your hot season annuals are still going. We got lantana. We got petunias, if you're good. If you're not all that great, petunias are done. Vinca's still going nuts. Vinca around town is great. They love the heat. They just love it. So that's still going. And then, like we talked about, we got mums blooming. We got pansies blooming.
My marigolds are still
Time.
blooming.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
marigolds.
mine
Zinnias are going
looking
crazy
great.
still.
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
of course. Y'all had to bring up
Your
marigolds.
two favorite, marigolds and zinnias.
Marigolds. Anyway, that's what's in bloom, people.
Talk about planting shade trees this fall.
Talk about it.
Talk
Yeah.
about it. Let's talk about
Let's
it.
do it. I
Yep.
mean, come on now. Let's do it. I like to plant my trees when they ain't got any leaves on them. All right? That means I ain't
A
got
whole
to
lot
water 'em.
easier to worry about.
So
too,
much
yeah.
easier. Plus, like I was talking about with the maples, you can look at them without leaves. So see that branching structure is which is the, kind of what we want to look at.
So what you're going to run into though is, I agree with you, Austin. It is better to plant when they're completely dormant. So that's like November through February, like we were talking about. The issue is we get our tree shipments
Little earlier.
in about next week and the next. So if you want the best selection, you got to come in September or early October. If you miss that window, then you're just left with, what has
left?
been kind of picked
Picked
over,
over.
which,
Yeah.
we try to, if we sell out of one thing, we try to, restock it. But, if you want the best selection is going to be the next month.
What's the best way to dispose of bagworms and spray for trees so they do not come back?
Well, I think I mentioned earlier, this is a timing thing. So if you're going to spray for bagworms, you need to do it when the eggs, either before the eggs have hatched and smother the eggs, or as the juvenile worms are actively moving around.
Most years it's Father's Day.
Usually, usually sometime or in May or early June. Depends on the weather, but otherwise, if you don't want to spray, you can pick them off, put them in a 5-gallon bucket with soapy water, and pour it out.
We've had this question a lot this year. So we have somebody asking, but we haven't had it in a while, and I feel like at this point most dahlias have bloomed. So they said their dahlias still have not bloomed. The leaves look great. They're growing, but no blooms.
It's interesting to me.
Very
Do you think
interesting.
it's were they in the ground? I'd be interested to know if they've been in the ground, through the winter. I mean, do most people dig them up? I've never grown dahlias, so
Yeah, typically you have to dig them up
Yeah.
and store them. Some people get lucky and they perennialize here. I'm not sure if they're growing them in pots or not. Maybe you have a nitrogen overload and you just, they're throwing leaves, kind of like tomatoes. Too much nitrogen is going to throw leaves like crazy, but throw no blooms because they just want to leaf out. That could be. This is weird. I mean, are they getting enough sun? Dahlias love sunlight pretty much all day long. So if they're not getting enough sun, they may not bloom as well either.
right.
Those are the only two things I can kind of think of.
Is it one of those things? I know with peonies, if you plant them too deep, then you won't get as many blooms. Could that be an issue?
Could be, but it's weird. It seems like if their green is up and happy and healthy, like you typically have blooms with that. But I don't know. I'm confused.
Might
by this.
want to.
I have more questions.
Yeah, next year you might want to try some bloom booster like Flower Tone or something that's.
High
Maybe some
Middle
bone meal. Give them
Yeah.
some.
Do 'em now.
Bulbs love the bone meal.
I mean, yeah, you could do it now if you want to.
If you're going to use bone meal, you should do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it won't hurt.
It won't hurt nothing.
All right.
Okay, how to prevent or help a floppy limelight hydrangea. And we also had a question, like the same thing about a viburnum. So,
Pruners, pruning.
pruners pruning.
Pruning. Because what happens is you'll have the plant will race out all these leaves, and the stem doesn't have a chance. Those cells in the stem don't have a chance to kind of get their rigidity to them, and they'll just kind of flop over.
Flop. Yeah.
Yep.
But in particular, though, with these like these tardiva hydrangeas, usually they're woody enough to hold them up. But if you have like a rain, especially when they've just
Gully
opened up
washer,
and you
yeah.
get a rain, they'll kind of flop over because of the water in the
Weight.
blooms.
It's gravity, man.
So so
I'm a big fan of the double prune. I've talked about this a couple different weeks. Prune them over the winter, certainly to
every
shorten them. And then in the early spring, cut them back after they've already leafed out. If you do this, you're going to get smaller blooms. They're going to bloom later, but there's a million more blooms, and they don't flop near as bad. Try it out, y'all.
Mine's doing that right now.
Try it out.
Yep. Let's talk about exploding tomatoes.
Oh, my God.
Oh my
well,
gosh.
what happens? I know exactly where they're going with it.
Do you?
because-
We do.
we've gotten too much rain. That's the issue. I mean, my tomatoes my harvest was cut in half because of how much rain we had.
Yeah,
I
mine
would
was
go out there, and you know what else? Really, my cucumbers, they would get massive in 30 hours.
Yes.
I'm like, what
In a
is
day.
going on here?
I know, it's crazy.
Because it was so much rain.
Yeah, and they're specifically talking about Cherokee purples. They are notorious for splitting.
Yes.
Notorious for that. They get big. Cherokee purple is a big tomato. It's an excellent tomato, don't get me wrong. I mean, fantastic flavor. Certainly worth growing every year. But when we have the rainfall that we do, they just grow so quick that they split. Now, don't get rid of that splitting tomato.
Yeah, it's still
Use it.
edible. Still
Yes,
edible.
It's greatly edible.
Greatly edible.
That's stupid.
Make chili out of it, or
Yes, exactly. Make paste, sauce, whatever. So, but yeah, don't get rid of them. You know what
so
else?
good.
The best tomato on the market, y'all. Celebrity. Best
Money.
tomato on the market. Does not split. Perfect, absolute perfect fruit. It hadn't split for me. I got
Wow.
Cherokee purples too. Yeah, they've got a little split down their butt.
One of them
doesn't everybody?
Yes. But Cherokee purple definitely does. Every time I harvest it. Celebrity, no split in the butt.
All right, and our final question of the
Okay.
morning.
Who's
What are
gonna
the
win today?
longest blooming perennials? Nope, not the question.
Oh, okay.
Longest blooming perennials for our zone, which is zone 7.
Go, Caroline. Tell them.
I mean, I love rudbeckia. It blooms for a long time. I get a couple months of bloom from them.
Catmint.
So that one's fantastic. Catmint. And we talked last week a lot about cutting back perennials to get them to rebloom. So my salvia has pretty much been blooming since spring, and now it's in full bloom again. So that is a great one that I really do love. Lantana, not a perennial. We do have one that's semi-perennial here, Miss Huff. That one will give you blooms, I mean, all spring and summer long. As soon as it starts blooming, it just keeps on going. And that one I've had come back for 2 years now.
And you made the greatest point that you could have made, and that's cut back your
Thank
perennials early. After they're pretty much done blooming, they're just showing a little bit of color, but not a lot. Cut them back, and then they rebloom.
Yes, they
Yarrow's
do.
a good one about that.
Yep.
Yarrow looks like a weed, but still.
You don't like it,
blooms
but I
a lot.
love it.
I don't love it. I don't love it.
It's okay. You don't like the pretty flowers. And that's fine.
I love pretty flowers. What are you talking about? Big, bold, fantastic flowers.
Just not
Just
yarrow.
like you.
That's just not you.
Yeah.
Yarrow. Just not yarrow, zinnias, or rudbeckia.
Alrighty, folks. Music means that this edition of the At Home Show is finished. There's a certain football game.
I
that
think
some
so.
Of us have
Somebody's playing today somewhere.
Maybe.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Hey, there it is.
There we go.
We've been
You
waiting
going,
all
Josh?
morning.
I'm going.
You're
yes.
going?
Yes, I've got to
All
go
right.
meet the preacher.
Vols.
Remember?
You do.
Balls.
Yeah.
Alrighty, Paul. Yeah, Balls for Life. See you next Saturday morning, right here from the Green Room Studios at Bates Nursery and Garden Center.
Love y'all.